This is actually a follow-up video to several of my previous videos, none of which I've actually edited or uploaded as of right now. So hopefully I'll edit and upload those first, and then I will come back and do everything with this particular video. In one of them, I was talking about, and it's not criticizing, but it's it's about awareness and spreading, I guess, truths. Where a journalist was praising the iPhone 15 Pro because the phone has USB-C and because the Pro has USB 3.2 transfer speeds, you are now able to record video externally using the native camera app. So the camera app that comes on the iPhone. After I read that article, I definitely thought to myself that there's no way that that's completely a true statement. I mean, what I then focused on, which is what I'm sure the journalist was focusing on, is the fact that using the native app on the phone, it's something that you haven't been able to do yet. But then I said, okay, native app aside, are there any third-party apps that would allow you to actually do that? and just coincidentally, a third-party app that I already had installed on my phone called Open Camera allows you to do it. Now, if you Google Open Camera, it tells you can get it from the, I think, F-Droid App Store. It's available in the Google Play Store. It's by Mark Harmon, I believe is his name, and I hopefully will put something on the screen showing you who he is, but he's not just some random schmo. So the app from him, it's a good app. And what I showed in my previous video is that using, I believe, a Pixel 8, a Pixel 4, my Zenfone 9, I think those are the only three that I showed successfully, that I was able to plug in an external drive and record video to it directly from the third-party camera app. So thus showing or saying that this person is hyping the iPhone 15 Pro, once again, as people always do, as, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing. It's going to change the way that we do work. And fine. For him, if it changes the way that he does work, then I say, well, that's your fault for not taking the time to explore alternatives. And it's that simple. If it's taken the iPhone to the iPhone 15 Pro to allow you to do that, then the only person that you can blame is yourself. And in a world where we only really have two major mobile operating systems, Android and iOS, if iOS isn't doing what you need it to do, you need to give the alternative a try. Now, in my video, what I showed was those three phones, and then I also tried to do it with this Sony Xperia X Compact that came out in 2016. So we're talking a phone that came out 8 years ago. And the issue with this phone and my Zenfone is that even though they both have USB-C, they have USB-C ports that transfer data at USB 2 speeds. So those were the two caveats, really three, but two caveats when it comes to the port that the journalist was talking about, that yes, you need USB-C, okay, and you also need USB 3 or faster in order for it to work. Now, I did show that on that Zenfone with a USB-C but USB 2 port, I was able to do exactly what he was requesting. Now, when I attempted to do it on this phone, for some reason, it didn't work. But I wanted to come back and show that whatever I was doing was wrong, and I've gotten it to work. In addition to that, I have this Pixel 2. And I'm not going to demonstrate it working, but on this Pixel 2 that came out, I believe, back in 2019, you're also able to do what this journalist is now praising Apple for finally bringing to the iPhone on the iPhone 15 Pro. So let's just go ahead and give it a try. So first thing I'm gonna do is take just this regular SanDisk 3.5 inch, 3.5 inch. So the first thing I'm going to do is take this regular SanDisk drive. It has USB-A on one side and USB-C on the other side. And I'm just gonna plug it in. All right, and that's that simple. Now, in the other videos, I went to the App Store first and did all that stuff, but the app's already on the phone. So it's a little blurry. I'm sorry, and let's see if we can get the focus. but the Open Camera app is right there in the bottom corner. And I'm going to tap it. So what we need to do is come up here to the little gear, tap on that, and we're going to tap on More Camera Controls. I'm going to scroll down. And here we have Storage Access Framework. I always turn that on, even though I don't think we technically need to turn it on, but I leave it on. And I tap Save Location. Now, I always, since I've already done it, everything's where it's supposed to be. But you need to come up here and tap that little hamburger menu. And you see the places where you can save. So you can save it to the phone directly, which is the downloads. Then you can save it to the SD card, which, as I pointed out in the other video, is another cheap way to expand storage, which unfortunately most phone manufacturers now either have done away with or never actually had. Or you can use the little USB-C thing down here, which is the ESD USB. So I'm going to tap that. And you don't have to go in the DCIM folder, but I'm going to. And then these are things that are already in the folder, and I'm going to click Select. Okay, so change save location to that location. Now what I'm going to do is come here, and we're just going to look around. So I haven't started recording yet, but I'm going to tap Record. And boom, there we go. So right now we are recording on the Sony Xperia X Compact that came out in 2016. It has a USB-C port, but that port transfers data at USB 2 speeds. And we are just recording to show that it is possible, even though you have to use a third-party app. All right. Now what I'm going to do, so as to show you exactly where that file is stored, we're going to go home, and we're going to scroll up, and we're going to tap Files. And I know it's hard to see, but there's Files right there. And we're going to tap the hamburger menu again. And here are the locations where you can choose to find your files. So ESD, USB, and we saved it in the DCIM folder. And we're going to scroll all the way down. And I'm going to presumably assume that this one down here, since it's the last one, is the one that we just recorded. So I'm going to tap it. And we're going to use the gallery or the album just once. Even that doesn't matter. And boom, there we go. So right now, we are recording on the Sony Xperia X Compact that came out in 2016. It has a USB-C port, but that port transfers data at USB 2 speeds. And we are just recording to show that it is possible, even though you have to use a third-party app. Now, before we talk a little more about it, another video that I made in response to something else that is being talked about a lot now is the fact that the iPhone 16 is going to get a capture button. And essentially that capture button is just another button that allows you to do something. And in this case, it's going to be open the camera. Now, the reason I was like, that's not a big deal is, as some people have pointed out, things like this button have been on Android devices for a while, mainly Sony Xperias. Again, this phone came out in 2016. So one, you can tap it or press it to open the camera app, and it should ask us a question. Okay, it didn't. No problem. I was assuming that it might ask us what default camera app do we want to use, but it doesn't matter. But the beauty of this little guy right here is that it's a two-stage button. So you can press it and it focuses. There you go. You can see it focus on my face. And press it again and it takes the picture. So focus, take the picture. Focus, take the picture. Okay. And the third thing, and again, we're gonna bring it all together. The third thing that I wanted to talk about is longevity of support. So I mentioned the Pixel 2 earlier. Google and Samsung have both said that they are going to support their devices for 7 years. Had Google been supporting their devices this entire time, the Pixel 2 would still be supported. Is it an okay device? Yeah, but there are better things that exist, you know, and it'd be hard to recommend somebody buy a used Pixel 2 when you could find an affordable used version of something newer. And if you happen to keep a Pixel 2 or something that old for that entire period of time, then kudos to you. But yeah, I think 7 years would definitely be a bit much, and the majority of people would have either had to get a new device or would have just chosen to get a new device. So we'll see. But if I could bring it all together, okay, the iPhone gets a lot of praise. We know that. Apple gets a lot of praise. We know that. And I think, their popularity goes back to, Steve Jobs and everything. But when I hear other people who aren't in Apple praise them so much and be almost completely void of other realities, meaning other companies are doing what you're now praising Apple for doing, it really bothers me. And it bothers me not that I have stock in these other companies or whatever, but it's just Apple's success means other companies aren't as successful. And Apple's success means other people are going to be using their products. And I will forever. And I'm pointing over here because there's a Mac right here. And this is a good computer. But the iPhone, in my opinion, is terrible. Even though I just said the Mac is a good computer now, I don't plan on keeping it forever. I hope that these Qualcomm chips come out later this year and make a real difference. But for the journalist to say, "Oh, this iPhone 15 is the only," that's what the article said. This is the only phone that can do it. Fine, it's the only phone that can do it with the native app. But I just showed you that this phone that came out 8 years ago can do it. You just have to use a third-party app, which the majority of apps on your phone are third-party apps. So downloading Open Camera or another app that would allow you to do it on Android. I don't know about iOS because things are different over there. The option has always been there for him to do it if he just took the time to look. And if he's known that the option's been there, but now he's just chosen to make it sound like he didn't know that, and then of course given Apple further praise, then that's also a problem. The praise that the iPhone 16 is getting for having a capture button. Again, using the same device that came out 2016. Sony has been doing this for a while, that two-stage capture button. Whatever you want to, camera button. I don't know specifically what Sony calls it, but it's the exact same thing. And in the article that I'm referencing, that maybe I'll put up on the screen, this journalist is like, "Oh, professionals are going to love it." And in my mind, I'm like, one, cool, that might be true, but also when that exact same feature is on non-professional devices, through your words, you're excluding people who also would benefit it. So the phone is a phone, regardless of who makes it, or regardless of what branding or monikers you throw on the beginning or the end, prefixes or suffixes, they're phones. And this by no means is a professional device. But saying that professionals are going to appreciate it now that it's on an iPhone 16 is really unfortunate. You're doing your audience a disservice. You're not spreading knowledge. Now, in that article, I will admit that they did say, "Oh, the Xperia has been doing it," but the title is what would throw off a lot of people. The only reason I clicked on it is because it said professionals, because I had to question what this person was actually saying. But I think there are people who will say, "Oh, it's for professionals," even though what is a professional phone? I don't know, or why would a professional have this phone or another phone? So many questions that, some people have answers, but I feel like these device manufacturers just make everything up. Okay, so it is what it is, but it's all about buttons that make it easy for you as the consumer to take your phone out, have it where you want it to be, press and hold the button. It's there, capture. Okay, like that's what it's all about. And saying that, "Oh, finally Apple did it." All right, man, that's, it is what it is. And in the other video that I made talking about the capture button specifically and just showing that depending on which Android device you have, there are multiple ways to quickly open the camera. That's just good for consumers, not professionals. Professionals will benefit from it as well, but just as a consumer, "Oh, the moment I need to capture it, let me go ahead and get it out." Okay, phone's open and boom, pictures taken. Okay, like, yeah, you want to be able to get there fast. So whether it's a dedicated button specifically for the camera, whether it's double pressing the power button, whether it's like Motorola's phone and chopping it or shaking it to quickly open the camera, different ways to do the same thing, but they benefit the consumer, not just professionals. And the last thing, in terms of bringing it all together, like even though I showed that, yes, this button is here, it works. Yes, this USB-C port is USB 2, but USB-C, and you can record video externally to it. Longevity of support. This user experience, even though I was more so talking about the Pixel 2, supporting something for 7 years really wouldn't be that great. So in fact, if this came out in 2016, not saying that Sony would be doing it, but if it came out in 2016, this thing would have been supported up until last year. And I, by no means, would recommend anybody continuing to use this in 2023. So, all that to say, no. And in fact, I'd want to say by the standard of support, it's like 7 years of support. So my guess would be it would continue to receive support up until, like I'd say through year 7. So technically, it might still be receiving software updates. Again, if Sony had decided to support phones for 7 years starting back this, so yeah, you understand what I'm saying. But Apple isn't that great of a company. They really aren't. They make some good stuff. They make some trash stuff. They take forever to do a lot of things, and they will praise themselves, which I understand. They're company. They're going to praise themselves. But I think journalists, tech reviewers, tech news reporters also have a duty to spread information and truths that, yeah, Apple did it. However, if it's something that is important to you, maybe you should consider alternatives. Maybe what you're looking for already exists somewhere else.